morning. My name is Sarah Ortiz. I am a marketing major and I'm going to be giving a presentation on the grocery chain store Whole Foods and its recent venture to expanding to the low-income urban-based city of Detroit. First off, I want to go ahead and go into the article a little bit, which is titled Whole Foods Market, a luxury grocer in Detroit. This article is based on Whole Foods wanting to expand its Detroit model concept to a similar demographic area of Chicago's Englewood neighborhood. So first off, we're going to start by giving you a little bit of background about Whole Foods. And Whole Foods was originated in 1980 with the merger between Safeway Natural Foods and Clarksville Natural Grocery. By 1988, Whole Foods had expanded out of Texas, where it originated in Austin, to Louisiana also. By the 90s, it had went nationally and having Whole Foods on each of its coasts. And to this day, Whole Foods is now going global and expanding to Canada. So it has been very successful in all its ventures, and it continues to show that it is going to keep being successful. So given the success of Whole Foods, the company decided to next expand to the uncommon location of Detroit. I say uncommon because the demographics of Detroit were very, very different, considering the demographics where Whole Foods normally places one of its stores. But they did take into consideration the local population, education level, income level, and selected driving distance. So in June 2013, Whole Foods opened up its first store in Detroit and has been successfully operating since, despite poor socioeconomic conditions and lack of support from the community. So along with that, issues against opening Whole Foods in Detroit, such as the diversity of location and culture in Detroit's metropolitan area, has been a huge influence on reasons why it shouldn't have been opened, but it continued to be. Because Whole Foods concept, or general portrayed concept image, is actually more appealing only to the white suburban middle class American. But Whole Foods CEO Walter Robb stated, "We came to Detroit to confront issues of elitism and racism because people perceive Whole Foods as only serving a particular community, and I didn't like that." So with that said, he went forward with going ahead and moving Whole Foods into Detroit. Since Whole Foods has entered the Detroit grocery store market, it has helped the community by increasing employment opportunities, and that falls in under the demographics of income level, which is 100% of Whole Foods in Detroit's employees. Out of them, there is 60% that are Detroit natives. So that really increased employment opportunity. Also, in supporting local producers and having a Made in Michigan section, and this was giving local producers, even state-right producers, the opportunity to go ahead and showcase their products in a Whole Foods setting. And also, one of the opportunities it has brought is a variety of basic natural food selections, which prior to Whole Foods opening up in Detroit, there was nothing other than going to a local or competitor such as a superstore. So as successful as Whole Foods has been in the Detroit area for the last 3 years, it has seen its share of problems and has had its diverse troubles from the beginning to now. Before it opened, many of the areas that were questioned in problem were in fact due to demographics, like I stated above, and this was because of income level. So the normal income level for a normal shopper at Whole Foods is around $79,000 per household, and in Detroit it was as low as $21,000 to $22,000 per household. But the good thing about Whole Foods is it does accept their SNAP programs, and that's guaranteed by the government, so they went ahead and established that. This is a huge economic gap for Whole Foods, considering that they're already taking a chance on coming into a population that doesn't really want them to be here, as well as can't really afford for them to be here. So the next problem that was raised were prices on everyday necessities such as a loaf of bread. Like I said, at the competing Superstore, a loaf of bread went for around $1.50 to $2 a loaf, and at Whole Foods it was getting sold for about $3 to $4. And this also went ahead and raised complaints from local producers who were producing local ingredients, who were being charged more for trying to produce an item that they were just trying to sell to their community. So with the local producers, another thing that rose were that Whole Foods were importing other products from various states and even outside the country, such as Mexico and other states where California and Florida for their natural fruits. And all of these issues were problematic factors to stopping Whole Foods from breaking ground and establishing itself in Detroit. And also these same factors contribute to reasons why the Chicago Englewood neighborhood is having trouble going ahead and accepting Whole Foods into their community. But with time, it has shown that by establishing Whole Foods in Detroit, there has been better food access to residents. So given what's been taught in class and the concepts that relate to the issues at hand, we can see some issues in Chicago's Englewood neighborhood, like I stated before, which have the same demographic, local population, education level, income level. And so when the branch manager in Detroit, who was actually Larry Austin, and his team were asked to create a report evaluating the effectiveness and appropriateness of Whole Foods Market's recent strategies to consider low-income urban communities as part of its development plan, only one strategy came to mind, which was brought up in this class, and that is Mintzberg's 5P strategy: plan, ploy, pattern, position, and perspective. Plan strategies needed to be developed with a purpose, providing high quality nutritious food to a wider community is actually Whole Foods' motto. So by extending that to lower income and urban communities, they're planning with a purpose. Ploy strategy to outsmart competition. Examples were expanding to a non-existent market in Detroit before competition did. Virtually there was no natural grocers in the Detroit area before Whole Foods came along, so that was a ploy for them. Pattern: successful measures in the past can lead to successful ventures in the future, and this just meant each store is individually customized to its community, and the store in Detroit is actually customized to their community as well, because most people know, Detroit is known as the steel industry, so a lot of its layouts and furniture in the store is actually old metal scraps. So next is position, and that's competitive advantage, offering community incentives where there's 5% days for 3 days out of the year, 5% of the store's after tax profits are given to the community. And the last one is perspective, utilizing culture in a substantial influence. And when I say utilizing culture, I meant I related to having the Michigan-made products in the store. This helps the economic incentive as well as a cultural meaning to the community, because it shows that you're bringing a community and even a state together by selling their products there. So, given that Englewood has similar concerning issues as Detroit has, I still see the value in going forward with this venture. I mean, they still have the same demographic, local population, education, income level, selected driving distance issues. But as you saw with Detroit, we can overcome this, and we can relate to the successfulness of Chicago's Englewood neighborhood. And given that, I have full faith that it will be equally as successful as Detroit was. So I would go ahead with it. Thank you.